Welcome back. Let's continue. Jiufeng. Jiufeng is another really popular tourist attraction, which is again nearly 1 hour drive from Taipei. But you kind of like pass the time tunnel back to like 50 or 70 years ago. So this is like a very old town, and it became prosperous because of the gold. And then you can see the girl spirited away. What brings Jiufeng famous? This animation by Miyazaki. People believe that he got the inspiration from Jiufeng. And since then, many tourists from all over the country, they will come here and they like to sit down in a tea house or probably stay overnight to experience a different atmosphere. The night view there is absolutely beautiful. For Taiwanese local people, it's not just because of the Spirit Away animation. In 1989, there was a movie called The City of Sadness. And because of that movie, people realized that, wow, there's such a cool place with a lot of staircases. And it's like really old. How cool is that? So more and more Taiwanese, they will go to Jiufeng. At the same time, there's an old street there where they can enjoy the food. So it became super popular. Once the government know that there are people, that means there are money. So the government kind of like renovate some places, renovate the movie theater, and make it even nicer places to go. So you can come here. You can drive here, you can do a tour here, or you can simply take the bus here. It will just go directly to Jiufeng from Taipei. Okay, so nearby, which is like 10 to 15-minute drive distance, there's a place called Jingguashi. So Jingguashi used to be the old mining town. People go rush there because of the, it's like a dream. It's like a gold rush. Like once you get the gold, you became super rich, something like that. So until now, we still keep some places. For example, like on the top right, it's a smelting refinery. It looks really old, right? It looks like a really old palace from like 100-year-old civilization. So actually, it's a smelting refinery, and it actually closed down in 1987. It's not super old, but it looks old. Looks really old. So some music videos and the movies were shot in there. We are not allowed to go inside now because it can be dangerous. Because it's a gold mining town. Even the water is still polluted. So this was a very popular place, especially in the middle. It's called the Golden Waterfall. It's a beautiful golden color because the water is like a sour water. So once the water passed through the mine pit, and then here it kind of like changed the color of the rock. If you get closer, sometimes you can even smell the sulfur. You don't see any fish swimming there because it's kind of like acid. Apart from that, on the bottom left, there's a place called Nanyaqiyan. It's a beautiful place. Many people they like to go there for like pre-wedding photos, and it has got a special color because the rock contains iron. And you can walk around. It's all natural. So this is Jingguashi. It became popular because of the gold. But the best time was sometime around 1930. But after 1980s, it became like an old town. Only, you know, like old people, old dogs or cats stays in there. It kind of like dying, no people go there. But somehow recently it became popular again. And then also if the weather is nice, it's definitely a great place for hiking. You can see the beautiful view, the ocean, the mountain, the blue sky, the pavilion. Is definitely a nice place to go. So, just to give you a better idea, so Jinhua was where these people they work. They live in there. There are many houses in there. And then once they make money, they go to Jiufeng to spend their money for some entertainment, to buy some grocery, to watch a movie. So that is where these workers go during their leisure time, and then to spend money or gambling or find some entertainment. So that's a connection altogether. I highly recommend you to do this together, not just the old street. So to have a better idea, let's unfold the land of the gold. Enjoy it.
There's gold in them there hills. It's a now abandoned gold mine that was originally built in the early days of the Japanese occupation and then later taken over by Chiang Kai-shek and his forces in the 1970s. Tens of thousands of tons of gold was taken out of the mountains here and employed, quite often under slave labor conditions, tens of thousands of workers. Even POWs from the World War II era were forced to work in the mines behind. One fascinating legend that is quite possibly true is that when the Japanese forces were leaving, a small group of Japanese officers hid somewhere deep inside in a mine there several tons of gold. And every so often, treasure hunters go to seek their fortune and look through the abandoned mines, trying to find the treasure. So far, they have been unsuccessful, but the dream is still alive for those who seek an easy fortune. This beautiful little scenic waterfall with the lovely browns and slightly gold colors is called the Golden Waterfall, which in actual fact is just a little bit of propaganda. When the Japanese were mining and strip mining up here on the hills, they flushed all sorts of toxic chemicals to get the gold from inside the earth, and those chemicals got into the water supply and oxidized and gradually made the layers of sediment that you see here. So even though it has a beautiful name and looks absolutely lovely, this is an example of the environmental destruction strip mining can do. They say, or some say, yes, the water is quite safe to drink. I probably wouldn't drink it. After a short, brutal naval war, the Qing dynasty lost Taiwan and it was ceded through treaty to Japan. At almost exactly the same time in 1894, gold was discovered in the hills. So when the Japanese took over the land, they not only inherited Taiwan, they inherited the newly discovered gold mines here. So here's what remains of the factories and the gold mine that you can walk around slightly without getting too deeply inside, as they are now falling apart and a little dangerous. And behind me, another point of interest is a special place called King Kong Mountain. So if you look about there in the mountain, you can quite clearly see the gorilla, the giant gorilla from Skull Island, King Kong. Whilst taking the short walk from the car park up into the old Japanese colonial era gold mining town of Jiufeng, one should take a moment and admire the outstanding view of Geelong and the coastline surrounding it. Enjoy. Steeped in the hills of Jingshan is Jiufeng, an old mining town that sprung up during the prosperous years of the gold mining in the area. Shops and restaurants and bars and hotels came here to support the miners that lived in the hills. It's an old, quaint little town built among many steps and terraces going up quite high into the hills. It was immortalized in the famous Japanese anime by Ghibli Studios and Hayao Miyazaki, Spirited Away. You can enjoy the Jiufeng experience by walking up the rather steep steps and meander around the old restaurants and shops, just as the miners of the old days did. In the olden days, the miners would come and spend their hard-earned money on what is essentially the entertainment area of Jiufeng. It was known as Little Shanghai. They would come out and enjoy the food, the wine, the beers, the ladies of the night, and live each day as if it was their last, because working in the gold mines was not only a way to get wealthy quite quickly, but it was also exceptionally dangerous. The Shengping Theatre was originally constructed as an open-air theatre and immediately became exceptionally popular with the elites living in the area. This allowed it to be reconstructed and changed into a more modern design of theatre that we see behind us now. In that theatre, they would have the Taiwanese opera, new opera, and of course, the really, really popular puppet shows that were exceptionally well attended during those days. Later, they would screen movies here, and it gained even more fame. Hou Xiaoshen, the legendary director, made a film, The City of Sadness, set here in Jiufeng, and that particular film enjoyed an extended run of several years, creating the legend of the theatre that it is considered now. This somber and stark statue, simply entitled Mates, marks the place of the Allied prisoner of war camps that were dotted around the island of Taiwan. In 1942, at the fall of Singapore and Malaysia, the first 500 Allied soldiers were brought across on boats to Taiwan, and the first prisoner of war camp was opened. In the following couple of years, another 4,200 prisoners of war were brought to work here in Taiwan in various mining camps. The conditions that they worked in were among the worst that any prisoner of war faced in that period of time. In this particular camp, it was one of the more secretive camps that even the Allied prisoners did not know about. And in preparation for the end of the war, before the bomb was dropped, or the bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the Japanese guards had made the prisoners to dig a new tunnel to the copper mines, under the guise that it would make it easier for them to get to work each day. But that was not the case. The idea was to dig the tunnel, and if they were to be discovered and the war ended, they were going to lead the soldiers in there and blow the tunnel, forever entombing in there and hiding the war crimes that they had committed. This park was rediscovered in 1990 and is dedicated to the Allied soldiers who suffered so much here and the brave Taiwanese who helped them so much during their time of need. Mates. Freedom is never free, lest we forget them.
Alright, I hope you like this small town. Since I mentioned the old street, I'm going to show you more pictures. So you can see that it's an old street. It's very Japanese-like. It's like going back to the old times. There are lots of stairs, and there are also some tea houses there. And you can see there was a movie theater, and it showcased. It's free. It's free. You can just go. And then now they still play some documentary or old houses for people to experience what the life was like before. So there was an old movie theater, and of course there are lots of food to try. For example, like the meatball or the braised pork rice. You can see the tofu in the middle, stinky tofu, smells stinky, but tastes good. You should try. After you trying it, you can tell people like, I've tried stinky tofu, and then people will be proud of you. Okay, apart from that, there are some rice cakes or as you can see in the middle, there's a yellow thing and a purple thing, right? These are dessert. Sweet potato and taro. It comes with different flavors. Normally, we will have that together with a red bean soup or mung bean soup. It can be served hot or cold with the ice. So that is also like a must try in the old street. So apart from food, most people they will go there for shopping and food and sit down in the tea house, enjoy the view. It's a perfect one-day tour destination, Jiufeng. So, what have you learned from this and how can you apply to your country? Again, three things. First, I have to mention is the charm of the movie or animation. So, remember in another course I mentioned about the movie tourism? This is another perfect example. It became popular because of the movie. I have met some tourists several times that they came to Taiwan because of that. And then they are actually Miyazaki, the Spirited Away director. They are the fan of him. So they came here just for that. The power of a movie. Second, back to the old times. Nowadays, we see a lot of like modern buildings or shopping center, but sometimes we just want to go back to the old times. We want to experience what the life was like grandma or grandpa. What toys do they play, or what food do they eat? We want to experience it. So the old times is also another selling point to many people. Third, food. Food is also another big motivation for people to go to a certain place. Like, I want to try this, I want to try that. And then they will just go there. So it's always good to have the specialties in the place. Food. That's it. That's all about Jiufeng. Next, Pingxi. Most of the day tours we will do Jiufeng and Pingxi all together because these are not too far away, like 45-minute drive. And then Jiufeng, remember, it was a gold mining town. Pingxi, it was coal mine. After coal mine, it's also like Jiufeng. It's like very quiet. Not many people going there. But now because of the sky lantern, I'm sure you have seen this picture before. The lantern, that people they all want their dreams come true. So they all go to Pingxi, and then So the lantern, the trend, these are like a typical scenery of Pingxi. Let's learn more about it. Making your dreams come true. Let me briefly tell you the story of the lantern. According to the local people, they say that back in the days, like 100 years old, I mean, it was to do with a war. So during the war time, they will just bring their personal belongings and escape. But once they find out it's all safe, people can come back. They will release a lantern showing that, oh, you can come back. It's already safe. So once people see the lantern released, they will come back. So it's also called safety lantern. But another saying is about that it's also to do with a war, but it's like a military signal. So like a long time ago, there was a guy called Kong Ming. One day he got like trapped by the troops. So he came up with this idea of like setting off the lantern. And once people saw the lantern, they know where he is, and then he was saved. So there are different stories about the lantern. Which one is true? We don't know. But what we know is that this is a place to make your dreams come true. So these are all the pictures I took from my guests. Everybody is happy. They all write down their wishes using a paintbrush, like the calligraphy, Chinese calligraphy. They write their wishes. It can be in different languages. I choose, all these different languages, and then write down the name, probably a lottery number or anything, and then release it to the sky all together. Very, very fun. And then you can see the pictures. Where do we release it? On the railway. Is the railway still operating? Yes. So that means the train can come anytime, which makes it even more exciting, right? So the lantern will fly in the sky for about 10 to 15 minutes and drop somewhere on people's roof. We don't know, but it will drop in the bush. And the local people, they will go and collect it. And once they collect it, they get money from the government. And then the paper, we will try to recycle. And the frame, we're gonna reuse it. Well, I'm going to show you another video about how the lantern is made, so you will have a, better idea. So, how to make a sky lantern?
Sky Lantern Festival is a world-famous festival taking place in Pingxi. It happens at the end of the Lunar New Year, but other than that, it can take place in a smaller form at any day throughout the year. So up in Pingxi, you can come up and you can either buy a pre-made one, or you can make your own Sky Lantern to your own hearts and desires and feelings. So you'll notice on here there are at least 4 colors on the 4 sides of the Sky Lantern. The red, it represents your good fortune and love and your marriage life. If you want to get married, you can write a little message on there. Around here on orange, orange represents your desires and hopes for money and good fortune. Around yellow is to do with your work and study life. If you're not working, you want that promotion, or if you're studying and want to get good grades in school. And blue is for your dreams and hopes. For your dreams and hopes. Peace, love, family, whatever your heart and mind desires. So inside, the papers are all made from recycled papers and uses bamboo and a small little amount of metal. Once the Sky Lantern is lit, it floats off into the forest, but there are plenty of people who go out and retrieve the Sky Lanterns, and they claim a small reward upon returning them back to the original shops. So that they've made the effort to be environmentally aware of the effects of letting off so many Sky Lanterns. Anyway, let's go and light this baby. Send off our hopes and dreams.